to the remainder of the questions and break. But Madam Mayor, I know you've just arrived. Thank you very much for coming through. We've been discussing several issues, mainly at the moment focused on presentations, and about to go in, as you know, to the tracks where we will create the inputs that will go into the draft policy to serve next month, and also, of course, then from those inputs to decide on the tangible points which we will resolve to work on as stakeholders in this entire process. So, Madam Mayor, if you're happy to begin your address shortly, the floor is certainly yours. And again, a very warm welcome. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Good morning, goeiemorgen, Molweni. And please accept my apologies that I'm running late. I had a meeting with the Minister of Local Government who postponed the meeting for half an hour later, so my humble apologies for not being here. And I really hope that you are going to have fruitful discussions and come up with some solutions. I think the time for talk is over. We need to begin to become more practical and get things to be done. Now, the composition of the global economy is certainly changing. Traditionally, the growth in economic activity used to be thought of as occurring within and between countries. These relationships kept the focus of economic activity largely to be measured only at national level. But our understanding of the city, of what drives the global economy in the 21st century, has shifted to identify cities as the key drivers for economic growth. Indeed, mid-sized cities, especially in the developing world, have been identified as the major agents of this international shift. And the reason is because activity and trade takes place within and between dense clusters of people that can build up economics of scale clusters that we know now as cities. If you had asked an ordinary person what they thought a city was, they might give you a definition based on the number of buildings in a particular space and a number of people. They might say that a city is a geographical place defined by certain boundaries. They may even suggest that a city has to be a space of a certain size. However, if you ask the government the same question, we would say that a city is defined by a network of people, a critical mass of relationships, and those relationships, those people are constantly interacting with each other, drawing on existing energies and creating new ones. Cities are vibrant, they are dynamic, and they are fundamentally human. When I think of Cape Town, I think of intersecting networks of individuals, and that include, of course, the informal settlement and informal traders. These networks come from numerous places. Some of them are historical, some of them are cultural and social, but many of them are economic. They bring to people on the basis of doing business with one another. And when it comes to business, everybody speaks the same language. That language sees value, it sees monetary transactions, credit, debit, and systems of exchange. You could be a major financial institution or a community microlender, a major retail chain or a home shop, at the end of the day, you are providing a service of goods in exchange for a return. So as much as we understand that this city of people has many different communities and culture, so too do we understand that this language of economics also has many different dialects. And that is why our strategy, which has as its goal economic growth for Cape Town, understands the layers of the market. It understands that there is a formal sector and an informal one. And while we may need to cater to each other one differently, both of them must be central feature of our policy decisions. You cannot have the one without the other. Now, many analysts make the mistake of thinking about the South African economy in strict formalistic terms. This is regarded as the yardstick against which we measure our country's performance, with vague assumptions often thrown in to recognize that there is some informal activity. However, since the late 20th century, there's largely consensus among development economists that the informal sector must be viewed as a vital and indeed dynamic component of economic ecosystems, especially in emerging economies like ours in South Africa. In fact, in these economies, it is often the energy generated by the informal sector that provides much of the cash flow, exchange and commodity consumption within large sectors of our respective populations. The critical element at the core is that the solvency of many communities, of many families, and of many individuals is enabled by informal economic activity. But this activity does not happen in some discrete place somewhere, separate in a space and time from the formal sector. Instead, the informal sector feeds into and generates a large portion of the consumer spending power, and in some areas, the savings capacity for leverage. And so, if you reduce the economy to the understanding of money flows, one equalizes the playing field and recognizes the near parity of the formal and the informal sectors. Of course, each place is different. Some countries with large informal sectors see much more of that activity in the savings and lending space, especially where there is a weak banking system that is difficult to access. Other informal sectors, typified by more direct business operations at the level of service providers, especially where regulation of new services and the enforcement thereof is weak. And still others see more direct trading at the level of the individuals as the hallmark of the informal sector. I believe South Africa has various elements of these systems, some more prevalent in some communities than in others. Of course, the level of this summit is directly concerned with the city's mandate of traders and their regulation, and in moving the city from a red tape to a red carpet approach. This has much to do with how we use and maintain public space, how we help facilitate business planning in operations, and generally how we help increase the opportunity in the city of Cape Town. At this level, we are faced with the challenge of balancing the need for economic activity against the needs of the general public to use and enjoy open space, be they roads or public squares, for example. We are committed as the City of Cape Town to getting the balance between these two forces right, so as to ensure that they complement rather than compete against each other. Because a vibrant city is one filled with the kind of activity generated by informal trading. It adds a distinctive character to the Cape Town brand. But in order to do that, we need to be able to represent everyone's interest, which means we have to know about them and formally recognize the parties concerned. And so, we need traders to be part of the city and give their input in our policies, on our strategies, and on our bylaws, so that they include everyone and do not exclude anyone. So we need the traders to be part of the City of Cape Town, to give your input into our policies and our strategies. We need to come together on a common platform and engage in a dialogue as equal partners. We must engage in this dialogue as equal partners. I believe that this summit will allow us to take some important steps forward towards realizing those ambitions by helping to create a common agenda. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that everybody will everyone uses the opportunity provided for today to take the process of forging a common path forward. We need to go forward to get the conversation going. This must not be the end in itself today. This is the beginning of the conversation. We need to keep on talking to one another. And when we do that, we will see that this city of people truly talking to each other in one language, and that one language must be our common understanding of the economics of the City of Cape Town. Thank you very much for coming today, and I hope that I'll be able to participate a bit in your discussions today, but I also look forward to the outcome of this conversation today, because this certainly is not the end. This is opening up the space to talk and to engage and to hear your views. This is not the time for blaming each other. We can blame each other, but we're not going to get anywhere. We have to, yes, take the bull by the horns and say, these are the issues that need to be changed. And those issues that need to be changed, if it means for us changing our policies, changing our bylaws, changing the way we deal with informal traders, then this is the platform to talk about it. But having done that, we then have to put a plan in place that will say, what will be the responsibility of the informal traders, what will be the responsibility of the city, and what will be the responsibility of provincial government and national government, because we do not operate in a vacuum. And I think this summit today will bring, especially the three spheres of government that tend to work in isolation, where national government will have a program, provincial government will have a program, and the city will have a program. In the end, you do not see any outcomes, or you do not see any impact. And really, I hope that today's summit will begin to deal with and confronting those issues. But in confronting those issues, also come up with solutions. I thank you and God bless.